Welcome to Burn It Down, Season 2, Episode 2. Welcome to TCB Studios on the road. My name is Tom Cheshire, coming at you live from Little Rock, Arkansas. I have a question for you guys tonight. Do you believe in fate? Well, I do. There are some people that have come into my life that I'm so grateful for. And I also know that in one way or another, I would have met them. And we are going to talk to a person in a few minutes that I feel that way about. But first things first, I want to give a big shout out to our sponsors, Kelly's Death Pickles. They are back. They are back as our sponsors. They have big things coming. Kelly's Death Pickles, check them out. And very soon, we will have Kelly Hester himself, the man behind the Death Pickles brand, as a guest of ours. Super excited about that. So shout out to Kelly. Also, shout out to Jonathan and Renee and everyone behind the scenes at Cosmos Creative. We're making big steps. We're making big moves. I'm so excited about this guest tonight. During the pandemic, I tried to do as much as I could. I played many live streams. I did some charity work. Everyone here knows that I try to promote an organization, a nonprofit called Punk Rock Saves Lives. They did so much for people during the pandemic. They would have these PMA sessions. They would have Zooms. They started another branch called Punk Rock Saves Lives Mental Health. I was on a Zoom call with a few people, and I'm going to get into that. And that's where I met this person who is my guest, Dan Falkenthal. We're going to bring him on in a minute. Please, everyone, help me give this man a round of applause. Mr. Dan Falkenthal. 1, 2, 3. Do we have Dan?
Hey, Tom.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
Good. I hope you're blushing a little bit. Was that a pretty good intro?
I'm liking it. I really am.
Oh, so there's so many things to talk about. First of all, you look beautiful. Good to see you.
Much love, brother.
Oh,
Likewise.
much love always. Second of all, I want to apologize to you and everyone watching if my voice is a little sore. But let's just say I got out of town and went to Atlanta this weekend and I had a good time. Probably didn't get enough sleep and did too much screaming, but it was all awesome, positive, and in good fun.
I don't think you have anything to apologize for if you were living it up last night,
Oh my
screaming at
goodness.
the top of your lungs with your heart out, brother.
Oh
That
my
is what
goodness.
it's
So
about.
it is the best. So I was on the phone with you yesterday. I was explaining to my assistant, and then 5 minutes later, I was with other people and I was explaining you to these people again. And then I even posted it this morning and I said, Dan is the man. Dan is like a drug, a good drug. These endorphins come out of him and get onto your shoulders and in your brain and in your heart. And then all of a sudden you're high off life. Thank you for that. Thank you for putting it out. I I try to share as many positive notes of yours as possible because I believe everyone's going through hard times, and if they see those little sprinkles, those little salt and peppers and seasonings and cucumbers of positivity, if it helps them through their week, I love it.
That's what it's all about.
It is what it's all about. So I want to explain to folks how we met. Um, Rob Rover and Tina, shout out to Rob and Tina, and I'm sure they will be talked about throughout this whole episode.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
they were doing a Zoom call with Nathan Maxwell and Shelby, and I believe you. Now, Nathan plays bass in Flogamali, has taken me all over the world. What a dear friend. I sang at his wedding in Denver. I mean, he's just been such a good brother to me over the years. Um, they were on the call. You were on the call. I believe I was in my parents' garage outside Atlanta having Wi-Fi difficulties. We spoke, we talked about PMA. It was a PMA session. We spoke about Punk Rock Saves Lives. We certainly spoke about mental health, mental health awareness, ups and downs, all rounds. We tried to do some songs. We went in and out, but you and I met, and it was like, and I was like, I really like this guy, you know. You know, even though we're full of love, you don't connect with everybody like that. And next thing you know, we chat. We lift each other when we're up. We lift each other when we're down. I mean, lift each other up. There's been some mornings on a Sunday morning, and I'm just having not the best week, and I'm listening to a jazz record and drinking coffee and reading the newspaper, which I probably should not be doing because there's bad news in it, and it's bringing me down even further. And you'll send me like a reggae song with a huge sun over a mountain and saying, hey, thinking of you, my brother, I hope this lifts you up. And I'll put down my coffee and just wipe my eye, and I'll text you back. I go, oh, dude, this could not have come at a better time. I feel like there's 10 cinder blocks on my shoulders right now. And you just, without even knowing it, sending me this note, took 3 of them off me. So thank you.
Thank you. Because through our solid connection, like you just mentioned through the PMA sessions, we just connected off the bat naturally. Like you said prior, organic. It's so hard to explain, but it's definitely through the power of friends and through the power of music.
It is. I've been seeing these, I don't even know what they're called, these memes or these things on the internet and on Facebook lately that say, it basically just kind of says, I wouldn't have met half the people that I know if it wasn't for music. And I 1000% agree.
Absolutely.
Because through music we met, but even bigger than that, there's the passion of music, because we've turned each other onto different bands and songs. And thank you for that, because I love that. I love at the age of 52. Damn, that sounds horrible. Getting old. I feel young.
Wisdom. That's wisdom.
I love at this age that someone can still turn me on to a new song or a new band. That gives me so much hope. But then besides the connection of the music, we were thrashing through the passion, baby. We realize that there's more, and it's the mental health thing, and it's the PMA. And then I Choose Awesome. And next thing you know, we're sharing each other's thoughts, the good ones. Because like you said this morning, it's all small stuff. Thoughts are just things. And the small stuff, that's bad stuff. Throw it out the window and keep going. And we connected on that level so much. So I really have to thank you. And it's this cheesy thing, but also I have no problem being cheesy because I love it. I do believe it's fate. I do think that one way or another we would have met.
Not cheesy at all. It isn't. Because I'm a firm, call it cheesy, but for me, personally, it's just how it's the connections through life. We go down this road and we are meant to meet certain people for better or for worse. There's lessons along the line with everything from past relationships with friends and family to current. There's always a positive and a negative. And it's our choice to take in what was given to us. Right. And within our little, our session, we just connected off the bat. And there's a reason there's a reason for everything, whether or not we know it, whether or not we get to know it. And sometimes it's great to wonder, but not always question. Because when we go and question, we end down a rabbit hole that we'll never find, and it'll be just full of dreadfulness and doubt.
Oh my goodness. What you just said is ginormous on so many levels. I think this poet, Jesse Michaels from Operation Ivy in 1989 out of Berkeley, California, said it best when he said, All I know is that I don't know nothing. And to be honest with you, I also love quoting lyrics of songs because that actually is huge as well. We don't know things, and let's be fine with not knowing it. I mean, Joe Strummer also said the future is unwritten, and go with the flow. And what we put out there, we're going to get that back. And the goodness that we put out there, we're going to I know what I'm attracted to. I say this all the time. I said this to Rob when we interviewed him. What a great session we had. Um, it's I, what are why are we attracted to each other? Why are Renee and I attracted to each other when we met and talked? Because we know we love the same things, and we also certainly hate the same things. Racism, homophobia, just we hate negativity. So anyone that's toxic, we're gonna know. That's cool. Nice to meet you, but I'm gonna move on and try to hang with someone that's a bit better for me.
Absolutely. And down the line, we learn as we go, and it's best that we take in what we have, and for present, past. The present is obviously the main focus that we need to put our mindset to. But you're absolutely right. It's crazy how these things work.
It is crazy, but also, you bought the ticket, go for the ride. It's your life. I had coffee with my dad on Saturday, which was wonderful. Before I went out Saturday night, I lost my voice. But we were chatting about all the ups and downs. He's had some health problems, and you're talking, you're laughing. Next thing you know, you're crying, and he's like, "You've done all right, son." And I'm like, I'm a work in progress, but I'm slowly am getting there. But the cool thing is I looked at him and I said, "You're looking at hands down the best version of Tom Cheshire right now. I know that for sure." And we hugged it out, cried a little bit, and it was good and it's healthy. And also, crying is healthy. I cry often. That's the other thing. There's this stigma. Get that bro mentality and that machismo and tough guy um, thing out, throw it out, and admit that you have your ups and downs. Admit that you cry, and then the next day you're going to hug it out with your friend and laugh about
Absolutely. I can't explain to you how low I've been, not currently, but these past 3 winters.
it. Oh my goodness, I'm
Straightforward.
so
How much? No, it's half of it's seasonal depression, half of it is just going through life. But man, I kid you not, like past 3 years for November, December, January, there probably wasn't a night I didn't cry myself to sleep.
dude.
And
Um,
and
I, yeah,
it,
and,
it's
and,
not.
and yeah, and let's tell our viewers that you're in your office in Chicago. So even on a good day, it's cold.
Oh my gosh. Every season in a day, in a week, in an hour, we get it all in an instant, and it's absolutely unbelievable.
You know what's crazy? I was at Riot Fest, I think the year before in Chicago, the year before or 2 years before the pandemic. There's so many times you and I probably have brushed shoulders, and didn't know each other. And maybe I even felt a little of your beautiful positive electricity and was like, whoo, was that? And then we need to let my viewers know that you and I still have not met in person, which
Yeah,
I was telling my assistant that yesterday. I said, you need to get me to Chicago, clear up my schedule so I could buy this man a Guinness. We could listen to a Pogue song. We could jump up and down and hug.
I would love that. I would
Well,
love that
well,
deeply.
I know that is going to happen in the
Oh yeah,
future. We just
we
need to
both.
figure out when. The world is slowly opening up. I do love, you and I have talked about this, and there's so many things that I'm just in such a good place with these days. And one of them is I'm just so proud of my relationships that I've built over the years. Some friends now, 30 years. Nathan Maxwell, I've known him since, he's like 17 years old. Um, um, and then more than that, the maturity and the conversations and the openness. A good friend of mine said to me recently, he was like, "You don't get it, Tom." And like I said, we're these works in progress. He's like, "You don't get it, Tom." He goes, "You don't get the friendship thing." He goes, "You give to everybody and you never ask." And he goes, "Dude, what do you need?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I need a hug," you know? And it was wonderful, and I'm getting better at it. Like backstage in the green room, I'm going to ask you for a couple things. No, I'm kidding. You know? But it's wild because we haven't met, but I know we will. But the conversations that we've had have just they've built me up, and I also know they've built other people up because we've talked about this. Where let's say I've shared a quote of yours that says, "Hey, it's a Sunday night, 11 p.m. Don't go to bed before texting one person and telling them I'm thinking about you, sending my love. I'm here for you if you need it." That is ginormous. I've shared that, and I've had people say, "Oh, thank you." And then next thing you know, you tell me, "Oh, I got 10 friend requests from people that you know." And I love being a facilitator. I love just now introducing you backstage to Jonathan and Renee, who, again, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for having me, for believing in me. And thank you for having my friend Dan. And thank you everyone at Cosmos Creative, because they're doing a lot of cool stuff. And you know, during that pandemic, I think we laughed and we learned. You hear like if life hands you lemons, make lemonade. I'm here to say, if life hands you lemons, make margaritas.
No complaints there.
Yeah, exactly. So you're in your office in Chicago. You clearly are wise beyond your years. I remember after we met, I was like, this man clearly is a therapist. And then we talked about that, and you basically said no, but I'm a listener, and I have this heart, and I wanted to do charity work. But then we also realized that cab drivers, barbers and beauticians and bartenders are also basically therapists. You got involved in these sessions, listening to people and giving people advice. Can you talk about that? Maybe what you've done, experience with some people, but also what it's done, like, because we know like giving is better than receiving. Like how good it made you feel.
It's amazing. And the strangest part for me that's hard to explain is it's come natural through the years. Um,
Right.
it's very odd because I don't see what other people see within it, because to me I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing as a human being.
Right.
And that's exactly what you're going off of with the posting about remembering to text a loved one for the evening. um
Right.
and for me it's weird to say that it's just another day, but I've kind of always been this way. I've always been a deep thinker. Growing up, my folks always had Mother Teresa quotes hanging up to
Wow.
Dalai Lama, Gandhi. So I've always been surrounded by all forms of culture. There's always lessons within everything. There's always something to be learned, no matter how much we think we know. And I think that's a fascinating thing, that growing up with my family, whom I'm very incredibly close to, both my brothers, niece and nephew, I'm very grateful that
Yeah.
I've I've led the life that I lead because of them. Because growing up, I never had a reason to be an angsty child. I never had a reason to backlash. We all do it in minor forms or major forms. Some stick with it, some don't. I just found that at an early age, it's so much energy. It's
Right.
it's an incredible amount of energy that we don't realize absolutely knocks us out constantly. Nothing wrong with that for some and for most, but for me, I learned early, I'm not going to put energy towards anything that isn't worth my mental capacity more than anything, but even myself.
My goodness. You just said so much. I hope everyone like taking notes, put them on sticky notes, put this stuff on your refrigerator, or make mental notes because I'm taking notes. That is so huge. Cliches are cliches for reasons, and that's fine. And I like a lot of them. I laugh at them. When in Rome, whatever. And we hear these things growing up, and some of them stick, and then some of them I'm like, F that. Like people used to say, know your strengths. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Well, F that. Know your weaknesses. Like I know what I can and can't do. I know that if I'm down and I'm depressed, I don't need to go out and have a drink. because that leads to more drinks and then me making not the most sound decisions. And I want to be around. I want to do good stuff for people. So that's so instead of going out and having a drink, that's when I play the drums. I bang on a guitar poorly, bang on a piano,
Not poorly.
I write poems, I punch a bag, I jump in the ocean, I hike, I run fast, I scream, and I scream like a Hot Snake song and scream and tell people I love them.
You're
That's it.
releasing it in the forms that you should be, in
Yeah,
like the most healthy manner. There's no, we bottle up so much in
yes,
an instant, and most of the time when we release it, it's at others over things not related to whatever that situation is with somebody else, and that
right,
happens more than us releasing it for ever since. Not even per
right.
se days, but to find that solid release, music being, we wouldn't have songs. I mean, there's a song by a artist called Bahamas, and pretty much, the chorus goes, they used to call it the blues, now they call it depression.
Oh
And
wow. Yeah,
it's so on point.
yeah.
And
Please share that song on my page later, and I'll tag Jonathan Renee and everyone else.
no,
Again, yeah, music is magic. It's medicine. It heals. And we all knew it. I know you and I knew it, but I believe it more than ever now. You know, it's these things that we know we have to do, and like I said, those things that I do, it's because I know what my strengths are and I know what my weaknesses are. And I know that, another saying that we've been saying a lot lately at TCB Studios is the best thing about a bad day is it's only a day. And you slept for 8 hours, and tonight you're going to sleep for five. Tomorrow, how often do you have two bad days? Now, there have been times because you talked about that 3 years in a row, especially with whether it's the seasonal depression, you throw in a pandemic, you throw in the world being shut down. Uh, the only thing worse than the feeling of those 10 cinder blocks on your shoulders is if you feel like your feet are also stuck in those cinder blocks. And that has happened. And that's when you're locked. You're locked down and you're locked in inside your own body. And that's when you have to, and I'm getting better at this, you have to get to that phone and call your friend and say, hey, man, get me out of these pajamas. Get me to the coffee shop. Send me that song. Hug me. I need a cup of coffee. I need to see get some vitamin D on these eyes and this shoulder and the skin. And I need to laugh. And you can laugh at the messed up stuff that's going on.
absolutely. Going from the start of that, I think I don't remember it. I don't have it memorized, but what a typical thing when it comes to musicians, but not in this sense, but like Dave Grohl has a quote that is, I can sing one song to 50,000 people, and they're all going to sing it back to me for 50,000 different reasons.
Yeah, that's lovely. I think I've seen that quote, and we sure as hell know. I know a lot of people that know Dave. I've never met him, but I have very good friends that know him, and I've heard the funniest thing is that they say he's like the Vince Vaughn of music. Like he goes into a room, lights it up, and he's just positive and has fun, and he doesn't sweat the petty stuff. And now you may say, well, it's easy. He's rich. Well, he's lost two very special bandmates and brothers to him in his life. That right there could make you lose your mind. I'm sure. Money we know doesn't solve all the problems. So he's also a person who has a a family and a heart and a conscience, and you know you know we're grateful for him and grateful for that saying because that is huge. And music is music. That's the best thing about music is is that magic and even that timing because there's songs that from artists over the years that I'm like, I'm glad they do it. It's okay. My ex girlfriend, she loved it. My brother loves that song, whatever. it's all right, whatever. And then now I hear it and it's just timing. And where it hits me now, I'm like, man, raindrops, and it just, arm hairs going up and just full on chills. And I love that. And I'm fine with that. I think it's so great that something I didn't relate to now I relate to.
Isn't that crazy?
It's the
The older I've gotten, the more I've been listening. I mean, we all listen to our top 5 favorite albums on repeat constantly. There's no
Yeah,
doubt. But
yeah,
that's comfort. It's like a solid comfort zone. And although the goal in life is to leave our comfort zone and embrace the unknown,
yeah,
music is that area where it's not a must. It's not you physically out there going in the world, having a new opportunity, moving to a different state, a country, taking a trip, whatever it may be. But music's like that solid core home that you'll forever rely on. And the older I've gotten, it's crazy to go through the experiences I have had and come out on the other end wiser than prior.
yes, 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 yes.
And
It's the
I think
best.
it is. And it's crazy when you listen to songs and you'll listen to one and you know the meaning and you know the lines, but you don't pay attention to a certain line or two. You sing it,
Oh my
you think
goodness.
you know it. And then 5 years later, you're listening to it and you're like, holy shit,
Oh, I know.
that's what, oh, well, that makes sense. I just went through that.
Yeah,
It's absolutely insane how not blinded we are per se, but like how going back years later to a song years down the line, not later, in the present day from something we've gone through, we now understand that song to
yeah.
a different level than anything prior.
It's we have to admit it. We're getting older. We're getting wiser. I was driving. I've been in Little Rock, Arkansas, doing some business, working, and I was driving, and Pink Floyd "Wish You Were Here" comes on, and we know that song. Well, he wrote that song about his friend's mental health, and he has that line. He goes, "Unfortunately, I can't sing right now," but he goes, "Did you exchange a walk-on part in the war for a lead role in a cage?" And I'm just like, I need to pull off the side of the road right now.
Right?
You know, I'm like, oh my goodness. Well, I've done that a million times, to be honest with you, and I'm trying to get out of that lead role in the cage. I just want to walk with my friends and be with them together. And actually, I know I want the walk on part in the war right now. And I love that. Because we've heard things for years, we've sang things for years. Many times we've sang the wrong lyrics, and then one day it's like, boom, and you hear it completely different, and then you're like, wait a minute, for 18 years now, you might have been smoking cigarettes and drinking beers underneath the bleachers in high school to the song, and now you're like, mind blown. Now I get it.
Absolutely. I mean, when you think about it, when it comes to any song, there's the artist's factual, where it's
Yeah,
coming from, and then you have our 5 to 10 perceptions of what the song is really about. And that's the whole goal. And going back to Dave, he's someone that never really talks about in depth most of the meanings of his songs because the whole goal is for you to have it as your own. I think 2 or 3 of of their biggest songs, he's never actually said what it's
yeah,
about because the whole goal is for you to take it for what it's worth for you,
I
not
love
for
that.
him. Because the second he gives, or any artist in his line of work gives away the actual deeper meaning, it takes a piece away from him that he
Right,
doesn't want to give up, but then it also masks what you had as your own,
right.
definition for it. And he doesn't, many artists don't want that to go away. You have that, keep it for you.
That is so lovely and so selfless, not selfish. To let these people have their own vision, experience, and understanding, and be like, no, this was written for me about my experience with my mom or my brother. Um, Speaking of, I wanted to say a few minutes back, big shout out to your whole family, parents, brothers, and I love it so much, and I hope that I get to meet them and shake their hand one day, for raising you with such an open mindedness, and obviously provided you to giving you this big heart that you have. It's just a great conscience, and conscientious of that. Not everyone is going through, like, everyone's going through different things, and it's made you who you are today to give back, and I'm very grateful. So when you talk to them, tell them T Chesh says thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Man, it's so good to see you on screen. You're freaking awesome. You're beautiful. I do know. I do believe in these fates. I know now. Like I said, I've told people that we had such a connection. I have a feeling we're going to do bigger things and work at a bigger capacity in the future. And me saying this now on Cosmos Creative, on Burn It Down, I believe that's me telling the universe that I'm trying to manifest that, because I would love to. Maybe a couple of projects a year. I know I just started. We just did my birthday show. I do a show every year on my birthday where we raise money for charities, and most of the time we try to help kids buy instruments and stuff. And we just started working with a new charity called Upbeat, and they help musicians who don't have insurance, and we know many like that. So I think you and I we got some great things ahead of us, and I'm super excited about that. I wanted to ask about Punk Rock Saves Lives mental health. Have people been reaching out lately?
There has been a lot. And I think that's what's great is we've always considered ourselves to be a great term from a band that my sister-in-law, who is a part of the group, um, we love the band Beartooth, which is a post-hardcore band, and they have a song called In Between.
Great band, great band.
And we absolutely and massively in the mental health area of music. And we've always considered ourselves a solid in between. We're not a family member who's going to push you either to do what you don't want to do because they know what's best, or to comfort you in those areas, but you need to get out of that comfort. But we're also not obviously professionals. We do have professionals in the group, but the whole goal is to have an area for other people, for anybody to decompress their day, to let it out. It is absolutely judgment free. We get, tens to 50, comments on practically everything. When somebody opens up, the amount of likes, the amount of heart reacts, the amount of care that it gets
I know.
is that comfort hug virtually. And we've had a handful of people reaching out recently, specifically today, even about career changes, to
Right.
helping with their kids and figuring out where they're going to move and whatever it is. And it's always there. It really is. And that's our goal, is to be that area, to be that in between, to make them realize we're all going through the same thing at different times. Some of us have been there. A lot of us have. Don't hesitate to reach out. Don't just bottle it up, but don't keep that other half in.
That is huge. I know I'll see someone say, like their post will say, not gonna lie, not not having a good mental health day. And man, it takes me 2 seconds, and I'll just send them a note and say, sending love with a heart. And I don't know them, and they'll be like, oh, thank you so much, or I do kind of know of you through so and so, and it feels good to do that. And man, if maybe 20 people send that person that kind of note, it really will make the difference in their day and make their day better and shine a light, and turn that frown upside down. Give them hope.
I love that. And what's so great that I see within you and myself compared to a lot of people, and there's a reason why we connect this well, is there's no ulterior motive with you and I. When we reach out,
Zero,
we don't expect anything back, and that's a huge factor of life. And we always think that there's, most of the time the reward's the lesson or something deeper. But when it comes down to it, for you and myself, is we just give a fuck. Straightforward.
Oh my gosh.
That is the absolute goal. There is no reason to not. We're all struggling. They statistics show that 1 in 3 people are struggling with mental health, when at the same time we're all struggling at some level, some deeper than others, that would put them on that statistic scale. But then there's a heavy day at work is already that level of mental health. And
oh my goodness, yeah.
for you to reach out, for you to make that little difference, exactly how our friendship started, is everything. It really is.
I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for a lot of things, and oh, that's another thing. It's you know, when we have to make these life decisions, we look. Sometimes we get a piece of paper with lines on it, and we write down the pros and the cons. And these days, I'm just trying to concentrate on the pros. When I talked to you about doing this show, and I'm so grateful that you did it, I told you that I wanted it to be this organic thing, and the last thing we wanted to do is for it to feel like an interview. It's more of just an organic conversation. And the reality is I know you and I could probably go on for 2 hours and laugh and talk about everything under the moon. Um, I'm going to cut it short because of respected guidelines of what we're trying to do with the show. But I'm also going to say I'm going to manifest this with Jonathan and Renee and Cosmos Creative, that when I do see you in Chicago or Mexico or wherever it is, and we have that Guinness and we hug it out, we're going to record that live and do another interview and do a live burn it down session, because I appreciate this. This interview is huge. You really are. I know someone gets it from HR and Bad Brains, and someone gets it from Bob Marley, and sometimes you get it from a motivational speaker, and sometimes you get it from your therapists. I've gotten it from you and from these mental health PMA sessions. Thank you so much, Dan. Appreciate you. Everything that you've done. This interview was huge. Thank you so much. Well, like I said, you are a drug. I feel like I just did a good drug, by the way. I hope you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm just high off life right now. And what a great conversation. I'm burning down. I will talk to you soon, my brother. Thank you again.
Thank you and everybody involved. It is truly a pleasure to be here.
Cheers, everyone. Good night. We'll see you next week.
Take care.